You're at a coffee shop and you type your bank password into your laptop. That password travels through the air as radio waves over Wi-Fi everyone in the room is sharing. The person at the next table can capture every packet you send. So why can't they read your password? The answer is a 30-millisecond conversation that happens before you ever see the page. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The internet was built to be open. When you send data across a shared network, it passes through routers, cables, and the open air, and anyone in the path can copy it. We call that person an eavesdropper. To stop them, you can't hide the data, because they'll see it anyway. You have to scramble it so that what they capture is useless noise. Scrambling data is called encryption, and the fastest kind uses a single shared secret called a symmetric key. You feed your message and the key into a function, and out comes ciphertext that looks like random garbage. Anyone holding the same key can reverse it instantly. Modern symmetric encryption, like a 256-bit key, is so strong that guessing it would take longer than the age of the universe. But symmetric encryption has a catch that almost breaks the whole idea. Both sides need the exact same secret key. You've never met this server before, and the only way to reach it is across that same wide-open network. So how do the two of you agree on a secret key when the eavesdropper is watching every byte you exchange? Hand the key over the Wi-Fi, and they grab it too. The breakthrough is a different kind of math called public key cryptography. Instead of one shared key, you get a matched pair, a public key and a private key. The public key you can shout to the world. Anything locked with it can only be opened by the matching private key, which you never share. They're mathematically linked, but you can't work backward from the public one to figure out the private one. This cracks the door open, but on its own it's slow, so it's used for one clever job, agreeing on a fast symmetric key. It's worth being honest about why TLS bothers with two kinds of crypto at all. Public key math is powerful, but it's heavy, it leans on enormous numbers and expensive operations. Symmetric encryption is orders of magnitude faster, often hundreds of times faster on the same data. So TLS plays to both strengths. It uses the slow asymmetric tools just once, at the start, only to bootstrap a shared secret and prove identity. Then it switches to fast symmetric encryption for the millions of bytes that follow. You pay the expensive step a single time, then ride the cheap one for the whole conversation. And the two kinds are good at opposite things, which is the deeper reason to combine them. Asymmetric keys are brilliant for introductions between strangers and for proving identity, but clumsy and slow for moving bulk data. Symmetric keys are the mirror image, useless for a first introduction, because you could never share the secret safely, but blisteringly fast once that secret exists. So TLS lets each tool do only the job it is best at, and hands off the moment the secret is set. So how do they agree on that first secret? Picture mixing paint. You and the server publicly agree on a starting color, say yellow. Then each of you privately picks a secret color and mixes it in. You swap your mixed buckets out in the open where the eavesdropper can see them. Now you add your private color to their mix, and they add their private color to yours, and you both land on the exact same final shade. The eavesdropper saw the public yellow in both mixtures, but unmixing paint to find a secret color is the hard part they can't do. This is a Diffie-Hellman key exchange, and it lets two strangers agree on a shared secret over a channel everyone can hear. But now, a deeper problem appears. You can agree on a secret key with whoever is on the other end. The terrifying question is, who is on the other end? An attacker sitting in the middle could intercept your connection, do the whole key exchange with you while pretending to be your bank, and you'd never know. Secrecy is worthless if you're secretly whispering to an imposter. You need proof of identity. This is solved with certificates. A certificate is a document that says, this public key belongs to this domain name. But anyone can write that, so the certificate is digitally signed by a trusted authority called a certificate authority. That authority is itself vouched for by another, forming a chain that ends at a handful of root authorities your browser and operating system already trust, baked in from the factory. Your device can follow that chain and verify every signature. Here's why the man in the middle is stuck. To impersonate your bank, he'd need a certificate for the bank's domain signed by a trusted authority. But authorities only sign certificates for people who actually prove they control that domain. He can copy the real certificate, but he doesn't have the bank's private key, so he can't prove the certificate is his. Forging a valid signature would mean breaking the cryptography itself. The chain of trust simply won't validate, and your browser slams the door with a warning. So now you have three ingredients: fast, symmetric encryption to protect the actual data, a key exchange to agree on a shared secret over an open line, and certificates to prove you're talking to the real server. The protocol that choreographs all three into one smooth negotiation is called TLS, Transport Layer Security. Let's watch it happen, message by message. The client speaks first, with a message called Client Hello. It says, "Hello, here are the encryption methods I support, and here is my half of the Diffie Hellman key exchange, my paint mixture, ready to go." By bundling its key share into the very first message, TLS 1.3 skips a whole back and forth that older versions needed. This is the single round trip that makes it fast. The server answers in a single flight. It sends server hello with its own key share, completing the exchange, and from this moment on, everything is already encrypted. Inside that encrypted flight, it sends its certificate, then a certificate verify, which is a fresh signature made with its private key proving it truly owns that certificate. Finally, a finished message, a checksum that proves nothing in the conversation was tampered with. Your client now does its checks. It validates the certificate chain up to a trusted root, verifies the signature in certificate verify, and confirms the transcript hasn't been altered. If anything fails, it aborts. If everything passes, the client sends its own finished message, and the handshake is complete in just one round trip. Both sides have now mixed the same paint, so both independently derive the identical set of symmetric session keys, without that secret ever crossing the wire. It's worth pausing on how much leaner this is. The older TLS 1.2 needed 2 round trips and sent the server certificate in the clear for anyone to read. TLS 1.3 folds the key exchange into the opening messages, cutting it to 1 round trip, and encrypts the certificate and everything after the server hello. Faster and more private at the same time. With the handshake done, you now have a private tunnel. Every request and response is wrapped in fast symmetric encryption using those session keys. The slow public key math was only needed once to bootstrap the secret. From here on, the speed of symmetric encryption carries the whole conversation. Your password, your balance, every byte becomes ciphertext the instant it leaves your device. And this is exactly what the S in HTTPS means. Plain HTTP is the language your browser and the server speak. Get this page, here's the data. HTTPS is that same ordinary HTTP conversation, carried inside the encrypted TLS tunnel you just built. The S isn't a different web, it's the same web, sealed inside a locked box. There's a shortcut for when you come back. After a successful handshake, the server can hand you a resumption secret, a kind of ticket. The next time you connect, you present that ticket and skip most of the negotiation because you've already proven who each other are. TLS 1.3 even lets you send a little application data in that very first message, before the round trip completes. This is called zero round trip time, or 0 RTT. It feels instant, but there's a trade-off, because that early data goes out before the server can confirm freshness. An attacker could capture and replay it. So browsers only allow it for safe, repeatable requests, never for something like a money transfer. There's one more guarantee hiding in that paint mixing step. The secret colors you and the server picked are fresh and thrown away when the session ends. So even if an attacker records all your encrypted traffic today and somehow steals the server's private key years later, they still can't decrypt what you sent, because the key that protected it no longer exists anywhere. This property is called forward secrecy, and it means today's secrets stay secret tomorrow. It is why modern TLS insists on what cryptographers call ephemeral keys, freshly generated for every single session and never reused. The server's long-term private key is spent only to prove who it is, never to encrypt your data directly. Sign the introduction, then throw away the key that locked the conversation. It is the difference between losing a master key that opens every door and losing a key that was already melted down the moment you finished using it. But be honest with yourself about what encryption does not hide. TLS protects the contents of your conversation, not the fact that it's happening. An observer can still see the server's address, the destination IP you're connecting to. In most connections today, they can also see the domain name you asked for because it's sent in the clear during setup in a field called SNI. And even when the data is scrambled, the size and timing of your traffic can leak hints about what you're doing. Encryption seals the envelope. It doesn't erase the address on the outside. So return to that coffee shop. The person at the next table is still capturing every packet you send. But all they have now is a stream of meaningless ciphertext, locked with a key that only you and your bank ever computed, and that nobody transmitted. They can tell you're talking to your bank, but not a single word of what you said. They watched the whole handshake happen in the open and still walked away with the contents sealed. So here's the whole idea in 4 moves. Symmetric encryption scrambles your data fast. A Diffie-Hellman exchange lets 2 strangers agree on the key over an open line. Certificates and certificate authorities prove the server is who it claims to be. And the TLS handshake stitches all 3 together in a single round trip, then hands you an encrypted tunnel. The next time you see that little padlock, you'll know it isn't decoration. It's the receipt for a tiny, brilliant negotiation that proved an identity, agreed on a secret in plain sight, and built a private room for just you and one server in the time it took the page to load. That's how HTTPS keeps your data secret.